And cool to get like different stems back, and they've obviously got different rooms halfway across the world, different mics. Some of them don't really know much about recording, and that's that limitation thing again. And then it'd come to us, and we'd do whatever we do with it. And I honestly love that. I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Welcome to Audio Technology Magazine's ISO Booth podcast, where we phone audio engineers and producers at home. And thanks to the pandemic lockdown, they answer.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Audio Technology ISO booth. Chris here, and I'm joined by James and Rhiannon from Wilson's Prom. Hi guys, how are you going?
Good, how are you doing?
Hello.
Very well, thank you indeed. It's a public holiday in Victoria. I've played golf, you played golf the other day, James. The weather is changing, things are looking up.
Fit one in just before the rain hit.
That's right, the weather's about to come in. So I'm going to just let you explain to us what you've been up to, what the Wilson's Prom project is about, what you've done, what you're doing with it, where you're going. Who'd like to kick off?
I'll kick it off, I guess. So we both have our solo projects. Mine's called Feelds and Rhiannon's is Merpire. And we've worked the last couple of years co-producing Rhiannon's stuff, and I've done my own albums. So we've kind of worked together for a little while now, and had done some writing when lockdown hit, and we were going to release it as like a Feelds and Merpire single. And then we wrote another one and then kind of started forming this story, and it didn't quite fit in either of our kind of projects. So we went with Feelds and Merpire present Wilson's Prom and kind of created this new world. And, it's fictional, but it allowed us to kind of explore new sounds, experiment with different things that we might not have tried in our own projects. So it was a really enjoyable experience for sure.
So what's the Wilson's Prom connection? The geographical connection.
Yeah, so we the first one, I guess, that really fit into this Wilson's Prom vibe was about a couple of characters that were at a prom, and I guess there was like a tension between them because they liked each other, but they didn't know that they liked each other. And so we kind of formed an entire night across the EP based on three characters and how they intertwined. Mm-hmm. So each song is basically the inside of a character's mind and how they intertwine.
Cool. Okay.
I'm
glad we cleared that up. There's no connection with
No.
with the popular.
Well, we do get tags on Instagram of people visiting Wilson's Prom. They're like, here I am. You're welcome.
It's a marketing ploy.
Yeah, I always wondered about that, like bands called the internet and whatnot. So how do they do that? Okay, so where did you record?
The first couple of songs we did predominantly in our little home studio here.
Makeshift home studio.
Yeah. I work out of a studio in Brunswick called Small Time. We've just launched at the start of the year in Feb. And when we weren't able to get in there, we just started kind of working up the songs here at our house. And then in between the two lockdowns, we got in there and finished off extra little bits and did the mixing. So it worked out quite well, and we wrapped it up just before we weren't allowed in there again. Right. So between here and Small Time.
Yeah. So what can you achieve at home, and what do you need Small Time for?
That's a good question. I think space away from housemates is number one. And maybe some, it's just good to be in an environment that sounds good and is made for, creating and producing and mixing. So it worked out well that we got in there when we did, and we're wrapping up the EP then. So ideally we would have done it all in small time, but it was a fun little adventure that we went on for sure.
So what do you, like, how did you tool up at home? Like, I know you're saying it's nothing to write home about, but what did you equip yourself with just to be able to, do those demos and work the songs on?
We pretty much used an SM7 for everything, and Ree's got a great little is it a Fender Champ?
Yeah, Super Champ.
Fender Super Champ amp, couple of acoustics and electrics and a bass,
few pedals,
and yeah, just we like to kind of experiment with running vocals through pedals and all that kind of jazz. So honestly though, I love being restricted personally within. I think that's the best thing about working away from the studios is you have like limited gear and you're like, well, what can we create in this? And it kind of,
forces you to experiment a bit more.
Yeah. Just think outside the box on how you can get this particular sound that you want. We had a couple of synths lying around as well that was fun to include, but yeah.
And the album's got a real, it's got a real sort of sonic aesthetic. And how would you describe it? What describes the DNA of that sonic aesthetic of the album? Like, what are the key things that you knew each song, from a production point of view, had that gave it the Wilson's Prom sort of DNA?
Yeah, I think it comes back to a few different things of, first and foremost, having that freedom beyond our solo projects to be able to tap into, whatever sounds we wanted. There were a few sounds we had in mind, thinking about what the actual prom dance would look like and what band they might have had on stage. So we kind of tried to emulate a band within, it's like an Inception situation. So we had, I guess some synths from, the 80s, 90s kind of synth sounds that, obviously come back now. And I guess, we had fun building some Foley in the background that you probably heard. But I think the main thing as we were going, like it was good because we had the time to indulge in producing as we recorded and sometimes as we wrote. So if we were in the studio, we'd have a verse, maybe record that, build the production around the verse without having a chorus yet. And then that would help actually with the story that came in the chorus. Because each of the songs are a different character, we had this idea that in your mind, in your imagination, you're not tied down to a particular genre or a particular decade. You think about whatever comes to mind. So we really tried to explore how to encapsulate that, I guess, in the...
Yeah, I guess like each character's perspective is going to be different, a different take on the night. It might be at the same time as another character, but they're thinking about it all completely differently. And I guess we were trying to represent that through the production and sonics. Yeah.
Do you think that you could have produced this sort of album or indulged in this kind of concept if it wasn't for lockdown? Like, would you have had the headspace?
I guess we probably could have, like, we generally live a certain lifestyle where we are always writing and having the freedom to record all the time. But I think you're right in that having this pandemic weighing over our heads was like, well, why not? Let's just do it, because we don't know what's going to happen with the music industry going forward. So we may as well just throw something together and have as much fun as we can in the process. Yeah, it's worked out well because Ree is like, we've got an album coming, or Merpire's got an album coming next year, and this time has allowed her to kind of set up how that's going to be released. And then I'm still writing, very slowly on my own stuff. So this was a great little outlet to kind of keep the momentum going as well.
Sure. Yeah. How did you, with vocals and especially producing your own vocals, how much time do you spend I guess, developing an aesthetic based on the right mic or the right space, the right feeling. Can you describe to me the journey, even over the last few years, about how you've got to where you are now? Are you happy with how your vocals sound?
Yeah, I think personally, in the last year, I've fallen in love with that SM7 that I referred to earlier. I just think it's so versatile, and we use it on Ree's vocal as well. Just because of those restrictions that we were talking about earlier, like within a room that might not be set up for recording well, I think the SM7 works better than a condenser, obviously, because it allows you to kind of like get in close and not pick up so much room sound. But I also love kind of playing around with vocals, doubling them and running them through like crazy saturators. And so I love manipulating vocals post and kind of blending that in, kind of multi-layered with the like main take, I guess.
We kind of had to, actually, because James he doesn't mean to do it, I guess, but he has this magic of being able to blend with someone else's voice so well. Like, he's really good at harmonies, and so there were a few songs we sing in unison, and it sounds like we're just one completely different person rather than
two people. Yeah, that's amazing. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, and even I guess we had this artistic decision too for me to do the lower harmonies, because I love singing lower harmonies, and James is so great at a higher harmony. But again, you couldn't tell who was who, so we had to kind of go in and manipulate the EQ to try and separate the two voices to make them stand out more.
It was kind of a cool little quirk though.
Yeah, it was cool.
But anything you want to say on your vocal?
I love the sound James pulls. It's been a great learning curve for me too, actually, to watch him change different things and try to, because I don't really have the musicology behind me, I guess. So I've learned how to describe things in the best way I can for him to understand. I don't know if I want more breathiness, or if I want more of a higher sound or more of a lower sound, I can try and I just make stupid noises like that until he understands.
Yeah.
Tell me about, I guess it's a star-studded cast of drummers that you've got through on this album. How did that all happen?
That kind of evolved as we went as well, which was pretty fun. And I guess it kind of helped, like each song being a different kind of, with the idea of it being someone else's perspective. It was great to kind of dive into different drummers' minds and see what they come up with. So we didn't record any of the drums ourselves, obviously, because everyone's in isolation. So the first track, Loveful, we used my drummer, Jared Young, because we've been kind of sharing songs back and forth, field stuff, and I'm like, well, give this a go, and that worked out well. And then we used Jess Elwood, who's Merpire's drummer, for the other track, just because we thought Feelds and Merpire will join forces. And then we're like, why don't we just reach out and try and get some other artists? And I'm a little obsessed with Pine Grove. We both are, I guess. And saw that Zach had posted about being available to record drums on a track. So we sent him the track and he loved it and got involved. So that was a really fun time, and cool to get like different stems back, and they've obviously got different rooms halfway across the world, different mics. Some of them don't really know much about recording, and that's that limitation thing again. And then it'd come to us and we'd do whatever we do with it. And I honestly love that. I'd do it again in a heartbeat, for sure.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Because I think pre-COVID, you'd probably say that was a little bit of a compromised way of recording, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for sure. Like, you'd want to get them in the studio at least, or have some sort of control over what's being recorded. But but you know, being the style of project that it is, I think it worked really well.
It's funny the way some restrictions can actually open up new doors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And so you kind of produced and mixed as you went. Like, do you want to like talk about the mixing?
Yeah, I think just that's just kind of how I've grown up working in the production world, mixing as I go, just because previous to this year, I haven't really had access to a studio besides whatever I have together in a spare room at home. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of comes natural to me. That's the way I do things. But it has been nice to get on the big speakers at Small Time and put things a little bit more into perspective and be like, oh, it's got no low end. But yeah, so I like working the two together, to be honest.
Do you run that up mixing console, or are you still?
No, it's all
out of the box.
All in the box. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good. Yes. What DAW do you use? The Pro Tools or something else?
Yeah, we run Pro Tools, and we've got we just use Apollo gear, like all the interfaces there, which is amazing.
Right. So you rely on all of the UA plugs.
Yeah, on the way in we do. I use it a bit for mixing too. It's just great. Sounds so good. Yeah, fantastic. So I guess what next for you guys? Like you know, in this strange kind of lockdown world, like you know, how's kind of it gone introducing the world to your new baby?
Yeah, I guess because we didn't have a lot of pressure on Wilson's Prom. It's not our main focus. So it was fun just to say, hey, we've been working on this in lockdown. If you want to listen to it, go for it. If you don't, that's cool too. In saying that, at first we weren't going to put any publicity on it or anything like that, but we kind of couldn't help ourselves and had someone in Australia do publicity, which has been great, obviously, because now we've got an interview with you. And
it's clearly the high point of it.
It is actually, because these questions are interesting to answer. You know, it's not just like, if you were a dragon, what color would you be? That kind of.
Incidentally, what color would you be? Don't answer that.
Yeah, it's kind of been a cool challenge of for me anyway, not to go too hard in the business side of having a project and just kind of relax and enjoy the ride. But I think it's been taken pretty well. Like we've almost sold out of our vinyl in pre-sale, which is pretty crazy. I've never had a vinyl of my own music before, so
it's really special.
Yeah, excited about that.
And is there light at the end of the tunnel for you guys? Have you got any dates to look forward to?
I mean, release day is going to be pretty nice. I think we're looking forward to getting our hands on the actual vinyl.
Yeah, it's still
a few weeks away. It'd be nice just to have it out. And,
but there's no kind of sort of notional gig calendar that might be developing.
Yeah, I mean, not yet. It'll depend on when we're allowed out. But we do have a little dream to play in a appropriate venue for a Wilson's Prom.
Where could you disclose where your fantasy venue would be?
Well, I think there's one it's like an old RSL or something in Coburg.
Coburg RSL.
I don't know if it's somewhere. I can't remember exactly what it's called or where it is. All I know is it's old.
tickets to the dance kind of vibe.
Yeah, tickets to the dance.
But we did have the day before the second lockdown, we merged our bands together and had like a 10-piece or whatever. I don't know if you saw the live clip, but yeah, so when we play live, we'll definitely be doing that. And
we can.
My drummer was actually in Brisbane at the time, so we'll have two drummers. It's just going to be a fun time.
That's awesome. Are you going to going to be acted out almost. You'd be able to wear prom gear and
Yeah.
have the mirror ball and
Absolutely. Backup dancers.
Yeah.
it'll be like the scene at Back to the Future.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Good reference.
Well, that's great. Well, I'm looking forward to that. I hope I'll expect my golden ticket in the mail at some point soon. That'll be really fun. Well, thanks, guys, for spending the time and, reaching out. And it's been really good fun to chat to you. And, I just encourage everybody to go and get the album. There's no vinyl left, but you can still listen to it online. And it's just such a nice, immersive, it's nice. It's a nice journey. I love the album.
Thank you.
Thanks so
It's
much.
really nice. I think there's 20 vinyl left.
Oh, there you go. Well, you better get in quick.
Did you?
Yeah, thanks for chatting. That was great.
Yeah,
It was
it was
really fun.
awesome.